Tonight, Trayvon Martin's father, mother, and brother are here live. We'll ask about the verdict, the violence, and why they're not ready to forgive just yet. My Behavior Bureau is watching. They are standing by with reaction. Good evening. Exciting show. My co-host is Samantha Shocker, host of Pop Trigger on the Young Turks Network. Coming up, Trayvon Martin's father, mother, brother join us live. But first, the trial, the verdict, and the aftermath. We are all still talking about it. Take a look.
Even though what you think the headset was off or got off in some way.
Yes, sir.
That you could still hear a little bit.
Yes, sir.
You're nice and relaxed tonight and ready to go, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Oh, yes, sir. We're not in court anymore. You don't have to say that.
My view out my living room and bedroom is to look out at that courtyard, and just so hard to forget that, that's where, he had died.
They're prepared for whatever verdict.
That's good to hear.
As long as it's a just and fair verdict based on the evidence.
24-hour stress. That's what we live in this country. It affects our vascular system. It affects our renal system, our nerves. It's very difficult for us.
Miss Ali, I don't stress you out. Come on now. You're part of the family here.
An environmental crisis that is going to bring us all together as earthlings because we are destroying our planet.
It's one day at a time here, okay? As we all trudge the road towards happy destiny.
Joining us, attorney Mark Eiglarsh from SpeakToMark.com, Crystal Wright from ConservativeBlackChick.com, Brian Copeland, talk show host on KGO Radio in San Francisco, also author of Not a Genuine Black Man, and Ms. Scheherazade Ali, author of Are You Still a Slave? George Zimmerman's brother says that if he ran into Trayvon Martin's parents, he would give them a hug. He thinks his brother would do the same. Miss Ali, how do you think that would go down?
Well, I think that Trayvon's parents have started to get bullied by the white news media, and they are making statements and saying things that they know are not true, but they think that's the only way to be accepted.
Give me an
They're
example.
dealing with a little bit of fear. Yeah, I think that they are.
Oh, my.
Okay, Brian, have at it.
I just don't know how to respond to that. I just don't. I think that his parents, you're going to talk to his parents later on, but I'm sure that they are in a state of grief, that they are still in a state of disbelief. I would not, if I were Trayvon's parents, I certainly would not want a hug from any member of the Zimmerman family at this point because justice hasn't been done.
Crystal?
I agree with Brian. I agree with Brian. I mean, Robert Zimmerman needs to chill out on some of these media interviews, as I would argue the Trayvon Martin family. Nobody wants to hug. The Martins lost their son. They're disappointed in a verdict. They don't want a hug from George Zimmerman. But back to what Miss Ali said, I really think, I wonder if Scheherazade is living in the same United States of America as I am, because the white media, Scheherazade, has been very sympathetic to the Martin family. The fact is, the Martins, excuse me, woo-woo, zip it.
Yeah.
The Martin family was just on Anderson Cooper. They're going to be talking to Dr. Drew. They're having the news media, which is predominantly owned by, I would say, yes, a white-dominated media in America, owned, that is actually been very sympathetic it's been very sympathetic and caring to the Martin family. And I would argue condemning of George Zimmerman from the start.
I'm going to
let's talk facts.
Crystal, I'm going to let Miss Ali respond, then I want to get Mark to close this out. Miss Ali.
God, Lord, let me just respond. I don't think that Crystal is in a position. I do live in the same country as you, but as you know, you're a little lighter than me, so you get treated probably a little better.
Really? We look like the same skin color, actually.
Mark, help me out here. I need you to ground this.
Color.
Mark, help me.
Help you. You invited her on the show. Don't blame me. Once again, we have a world record for Dr. Drew tonight. Miss Ali mentioned white or black within about 1.3 seconds. That was a new record for her.
1.2 seconds, actually.
In her opening remarks. Yeah. And I will just say, you know, I think that Robert Zimmerman is just, I think, trying to express love, and the Martins have every right to reject that. They're not in a position to embrace him. That's okay. They're both okay.
Sam, last words?
Yeah, I want to say to Miss Ali, that there's plenty of white people out there who are advocates for equal justice. Just saying.
That's right.
Got to take a
That's
break.
right.
You guys stay with me. Next, have you ever tried to get out of jury duty? And what if you were called to be on something like the Zimmerman trial? Put that question to the panel. And soon, Trayvon Martin's father, mother, and brother are here live. You do not want to miss this.
What do you think you were crying about?
The pressure of all of it, and everything just kind of came to a head because I kind of tried to keep everything out, emotionally out during the whole process, and then it just flooded in after it was done. I don't want people to think that we didn't think about it and we didn't care about Trayvon Martin.
Welcome back. My co-host, Samantha Shocker. Now, how many of you actually served on a jury? Anybody in this panel? Show of hands.
I've tried. I tried.
Miss Ali has. Miss Ali has done her civic duty.
What?
Yes.
Miss Ali made the cut? Did they read her book?
Hang on. Has any of you tried to get
I
out
hope
of
it wasn't
jury
a domestic
duty?
violence case.
I tried. I'll
You
tell
tried to
a quick
get
story.
on.
I tried to get on.
Why?
I was in college. I had some time off during the summer in college. I wasn't working. I called and I said, I'd like to volunteer. They said, we can't take you if you want to do it. That's what they told me. They said, we can't take you if you're volunteering because you might have an agenda, you might want to get on for a specific reason, so we can't take you. Yeah.
Mark, let me ask you this. Your advocacy is your life, but can you imagine getting sequestered for 22 days and signing up for something a high profile as Zimmerman? Can you imagine actually agreeing to do that?
No, and my heart, Drew, goes out. I'm glad you came to me. My heart goes out to them. Right. Justice is not whether you like the verdict or not. It's them doing their job. My wife prefers carrots over cookies. I think it's outrageous, but that's her opinion. These jurors' opinion were different than some people's. That's their right. That's their obligation. They did the best they could. They need to be commended, not scorned.
Miss Ali, I see you with your hand up. I'm going to go to you, but I also, in your answer, I wish you would address what it was you think Trayvon Martin parents were saying that was bullied from the media.
No, I just think that they're making them say, they'll keep asking them things like, do you think this was racial profiling? Do you think the verdict had anything to do with race? And they're making them say no, because if they say yes, you all will destroy them. So they have to stand there and lie. You know, at home at night, and I know at home at night, they sitting there saying that it was about race.
Hold on, Crystal. Crystal, go ahead.
Yes,
you respond.
I mean, okay, Shahrazad, stop misrepresenting the facts. I just watched the Martins on Anderson Cooper say till the cows come home that they felt their son was racially profiled. He had the right to walk around. So stop spreading lies.
Now, as far as jury duty, stop it.
It depends
on who they're talking to.
Okay, hold on.
CNN and Headline News and NBC has been more than sympathetic and taken up the charge of this young boy's death since last year. Now, with respect to jury duty, with respect to your jury duty, though, I think Mark is exactly right. I would not want the burden of those 6 women, and I think we need to stop vilifying them. They did a very hard job under really extreme circumstances. Well, we know what you did when you served in jury duty, probably. Oh my gosh.
Well, no, wait a minute. Hang on. We don't know what Miss Ali did. How did you find that experience, and what would have happened to you if you sat on that jury, Miss Ali?
Well, what was the case? My question is, what was the case? What kind of case was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not telling you that. You know we don't discuss that after you become a juror. But here's the thing.
Oh, really?
This jury that they had, that they had sequestered, the jury they had sequestered, they let them go and see certain movies. Do you know that one of the movies was The Lone Ranger? Now, what kind of racist movie is that? Kemosabe and Tonto and The Lone Ranger?
It was approved by the court. It was approved by the court.
This is a farce.
Here we go.
First of all,
hold on.
This is a farce. This is a joke.
Hold on. Why is it a joke, Mark?
Thank you, Mark.
Why is it a joke?
Because this is so outrageous. I cannot believe that she believes the words that are spewing from her mouth. It is. I can't believe that you find that it's unacceptable that these jurors who only got a mani and a petty and a bloomin' onion and got to see a damn movie, you're accusing that of being racist. Give me a break.
Miss Ali, take us home. I got to go out. We're going out. Let's keep it cool, Miss Ali, because we're going out to Trayvon's family. So give me the last word.
Right. and we certainly want to respect them. But I don't want you cursing when you speak to me. Let's not get savage. I know that's hard for you to control yourself, but let's work
Hold
on
on.
it.
Miss
Nobody
Ali.
cursed at you.
Miss
Yes,
Ali.
he did.
Miss Ali.
This from a woman who advocates slapping women in the mouth if
Play
they get out
nice.
of line.
Everybody play nice. Play nice here. Miss Ali, thank you for joining us. Brian, thank you. Crystal, thank you. Mark, thank you. We got to hear all opinions here, guys. If we yell each other down and we have too much vitriol, there's truth in all these opinions, and we got to tease it out. Too much emotion.
That's
too
right.
much emotion, everybody.
Poor Tonto. Poor Tonto.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, for sure, that's another topic for another day. At least on television, it was played by a Native American, which was, at the time, a bold thing. Just saying. Next up, we have...
Johnny Depp is part
I know, in the movie. Trayvon Martin's family is
The
here
Lone
live.
Ranger
That's what we're here for. Cut everybody's mic off. We're going to talk to them about the verdict there. Sunny is there to talk to them, the backlash, and what's next. Welcome back. My co-host, of course, Samantha Shocker. It has been less than a week since a jury found George Zimmerman not guilty in the death of Trayvon Martin. Today, Trayvon's family is speaking for the first time since the verdict. His parents, Sabrina Fulton and Tracy Martin, are here live with Trayvon's brother, Javaris Fulton. They are discussing the case with CNN legal analyst Sunny Hostin. I will have Sunny take it away. Sunny, out to you.
Thanks, Dr. Drew, and thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I was in the courtroom for this entire trial, and what was so evident to me was that your family handled this tragedy with such grace and dignity and faith. And I need to ask, how are you doing now? How are you doing when the cameras are off and when you're home alone?
It's hard, but we're trying to live a normal life. What used to be normal for us is much different now that Trayvon is no longer with us. It's taken a while to come to terms with the fact that he's just not around the house. He's not watching TV. He's not gone to school and those type of things. It's just difficult to try to get past just not having him there. So we try to live a normal life. We try to, have dinner. We try to, go out to the movies and just do different things a family would do. So we trying to get back to our normal activities.
Mm-hmm. And let me ask you, you weren't there for the verdict, but you were there every single day of the trial. Why were you not there for the verdict?
We just, through our counselors, through our lawyers, and talking with each other, talking with family members, we felt that it was best that we weren't in the court for the verdict. We were instructed by the courts that they wouldn't tolerate any outbursts of any kind, and we really felt that it would have been hard to hold back our emotions. Either way, the verdict would have came out. So we just felt that it was best that we weren't present in the courtroom.
How did you hear about the verdict?
The news. Kind of watched it on the news, and it was even hard accepting it on the news. But we got several calls from several friends, family members, and I think it was just a time a personal time that we needed to be by ourselves.
Well, one of the jurors has come out to speak, juror B37, and she said she didn't know anything about Trayvon other than the fact that he went to school and he was from Miami. Do you think if the jury knew more about your son, the verdict may have been different?
I think if they paid more attention to the direct facts that were said and the facts that were not stated. They knew that Trayvon was 17 years old. They knew that he had recently turned 17. The prosecution said that he was 16 years old in 21 days. So they knew that, of course, he had a teenager's mentality. Mm-hmm. You can tell by the items that he had on him, which was I think $42. I think he had the drink and candy. That told them a lot. That told a lot about who he was, by what he purchased from the store. They also found out that he was on his way home. He was no burglar. He was just minding his own business. He didn't trouble anyone. He was just trying to get back to the house so he can watch the All-Star game. So I think with those things in mind, I think they knew that. They knew the fact that, somebody was following him. And I've heard people say, well, why didn't he go home? Well, if somebody is following you in a vehicle, in their car or truck, and then they get out on foot and they're following you, would you go home so that they can know where you live or possibly harm somebody that's in your home? People don't just have people following them and they go directly home. I don't do it as a woman. I would not go home if I knew that somebody was following me in a car and then they got out of the car and they're following me on foot. I would not go home and take that to my family.
Well, Tracy, you mentioned on the stand that Trayvon was your best friend.
Definitely.
Can you tell us what you want the world to know about your son, what didn't come out at trial?
I think what didn't come out, that he was a loving child, a loving son, a loving friend. That we had talked on several occasions, well, I had mentioned on several occasions about him saving my life. And his personality that we know of, that the Trayvon that we knew spoke in volumes, just his personality. Him being around us, him being around his friends, the things that he would do for his cousins, his little cousins. He was a fun-loving kid.
And Sabrina, tell us about his dreams. I heard that he wanted to be a pilot and even went to a science camp to study with Barrington Irving, who was the first African-American to fly solo all around the world. Tell us about that.
I actually have a brother that was involved in aviation, and I don't want to say convinced, but he encouraged him to pursue aviation, and Trayvon did. He went to Experience Aviation, which is the program that Barrington Irving has, and he started going there like over the summer, and he really enjoyed the program. He really was very interested. He would not miss a day. It was just something that he was focused on. He wanted to just be in the aviation industry. And I'm remembering one time when I went to pick him up from the program, that particular day they had a model plane that was there, and he was like so excited that he had flown that plane. You know, he wanted me to see it and things like that. So I had to get out of the car after a long day of work and, you know, just to enjoy what he was interested in.
And Javaris, tell me what you want the world to know about your brother.
I would just like to tell the world that I don't believe he was responsible for what happened to him that night, and that he wasn't on trial. Zimmerman was.
And let's talk about that, Sabrina, because Zimmerman supporters, as they've become known, really portrayed your son as this thug, as this gun enthusiast, as this MMA-style fighting enthusiast, someone addicted to drugs. What is your response to that picture that people are painting of Trayvon Martin?
Well, people say negative things when they don't know a person, when they don't have anything to say. They don't know Trayvon personally. The people that know Trayvon personally will be willing to speak on his behalf. But, you know, I guess you're going to get a lot of negative people because they want to justify what happened. That does not justify it. Whether he had a hoodie on or he had a gold tooth, that does not define who he is, and that does not justify someone taking his life.
And you know, you were tweeting throughout the trial, not a lot, but a few tweets. And we have one, and you said, "I pray that God gives me strength to properly represent my angel, Trayvon. He may not be perfect, but he's mine." What did you mean by that?
You know, some days you get a little weary. I felt that each day I had to be there in court. I had to go. I had to represent him. He is my angel. He watches over me. And I just, you know, just with the negative things, even when I look at Javaris, he's mine. He is mine. He's definitely mine. So whether he's perfect or imperfect, he's mine.
What
he
teenager is perfect?
None. None.
Let me also ask you this. The juror who spoke out said that she firmly believed that Trayvon attacked George Zimmerman. Was your son an aggressive person?
No, he wasn't. This is, like I said, this is an upbeat kid. And he had no motive to attack George Zimmerman. And you just listen to the things that George Zimmerman said. He said that Trayvon circled his car. What kid that's minding his business would just take time out of talking on the phone to circle a car of an individual that he doesn't know? He's not familiar with the area. Just the thought of him saying that, her believing that Trayvon attacked George Zimmerman, I don't, you know, that's ridiculous. And did she ever think that Trayvon had every right in the world to protect himself, to defend himself? Did they ever look at it that way? And I don't think she even looked at it that way.
You know, we're talking about a predominantly white jury, 5 white women, many of them mothers. Do you think this verdict would have been different had Trayvon been white?
That's a catchy question. What I do think is, had Trayvon shot George Zimmerman, he would have been convicted. Whether or not it would have been a white-on-white crime or a black-on-black crime, had the verdict been different, I don't know. But had Trayvon shot George Zimmerman, Trayvon would have been convicted.
And I ask you this because this tragedy has mothers talking about this. You've become, Sabrina, and you probably know, this iconic mother of brown boys all over the country. And as a mother myself of a little brown boy, I ask myself, what do I tell him now? And my friends and I have all been talking about this. What would you tell us to tell our children, our boys?
That's the very difficult question, considering everything that has happened. I personally don't think Trayvon did anything wrong. And I think we need to work on the laws. I think we need to make sure that they're feeling safe, because if you have a teenager and that teenager is not feeling safe, they're afraid to walk out of their house because of what can happen and how people perceive them to be. But I pray, and I pray a lot, and I just ask God to cover my son that I have now, Javaris. I just ask God to be with him and cover him and just make sure that he is safe when he leaves and he is safe when he returns. And then I just shower him with love. And that's about it. I mean, that's why it's so important for us to try to change the laws and try to have these type of conversations so that we are aware of what's going on.
Sabrina, I understand that after the verdict, the day after the verdict, you spoke to your attorneys and said something that really struck me. You said, this verdict will not define Trayvon. We will define Trayvon. What is his legacy?
Let me just say that one of the things is that I didn't want the not guilty verdict to be the end. We need to move forward with the foundation, the Trayvon Martin Foundation, and we need to make sure that we're active in helping other victims of violent crimes. So I don't feel like that's the end of it. It's the beginning of a different chapter.
And Javaris, you're involved with the Trayvon Martin Foundation. What do you want to see as a result of this?
I would like to see our foundation raise awareness about profiling, because we shouldn't have to, but there's a certain way boys that look like me and young men have to conduct themselves in public so that, you know, we're not
deemed suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you're hoping that the foundation will raise awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And how about you, Tracy? What would you like to see come out of all this?
As far as the foundation goes, we want to help others. We want to continue to be advocates against senseless violence. We want to continue to educate people as far as the Florida statutes, as far as the laws go. We want to mentor young men and women, and we want to make sure that we are the voice for Trayvon. We want to make sure that Trayvon Martin's name somehow will help heal the country instead of harm the country.
And let me ask you this, Sabrina, when we first met a year ago, when this first happened, you were calling for an arrest. You were calling for a trial. You were calling for the process to begin. And you did get that. You didn't get the verdict you wanted, but you did get the process. What do you think justice looks like for you now?
Justice looks like, for me, laws being changed and young teenagers, young men, even young women feel comfortable walking outside. I think, you know, you don't want your children to be afraid to walk and not do anything and somebody deem that they are suspicious. So that's just some of the things that we want to come out of the foundation.
And is this your work now? I know that you worked at the Housing Authority in Miami-Dade. Are you going back there, or is this your work now?
This will be my work forever. We wear these bracelets that say, "I am Trayvon Martin," because we want to let people know that we are the spokesperson for Trayvon. I can't say definitely if I'm going back to work or I'm not going back to work, but definitely this is my life.
And we've talked about your family of faith. Have you ever wondered why my family? Why did this happen to my family?
Yes, when it first happened, I was like, I couldn't believe that this was happening to us, to our family. And I can't say that I wished it on another family, but I just thought, like, why did God select us? Why were we selected to be the spokesperson for gun violence, senseless gun violence, justice, injustice, stand your ground, self-defense, and those things like that. Just you know, a spokesperson for teenagers. And I've had this conversation with Javaris, and I told him, I said, God could not have picked a better family because we are very close-knit. We surround ourselves with positive people, and we kind of feed off of each other. When I'm in doubt and I'm like you know, weary, you know, other family members lift me up. And sometimes I have to lift them up. But we are there for each other, and that's what's important. And our friends are around, and they are positive, and we just, you know, we just look out for each other, and we just supporting each other.
Well, I think that your ministry going forward will be a gift to the world.
Thank you.
So thank you. And my thanks to Trayvon Martin's family. Now back to Dr. Drew in Los Angeles.
Thank you, Sunny, and our thanks as well. Sunny, of course, CNN legal analyst. The Martin family will be looked at carefully by the Behavior Bureau, who is standing by, and we'll get their reaction right after the break.
Can you tell us what you want the world to know about your son, what didn't come out at trial?
I think what didn't come out, that he was a loving child, a loving son, a loving friend. That we had talked on several occasions. Well, I had mentioned on several occasions about him saving my life, and his personality that we know of, that the Trayvon that we knew spoke in volumes. Just his personality, him being around us, him being around his friends, the things that he would do for his cousins, his little cousins. He was a fun-loving kid.
Time for the Behavior Bureau. My co-host is here, Samantha Shocker. That was just moments ago, Trayvon Martin's family telling us what they thought of the verdict in the Zimmerman trial. Now, joining us, social commentator Scheherazade Ali, forensic and clinical psychologist Cheryl Arrett, psychotherapist and HLA contributor Tiffany Davis-Henry, and Deneen Manette, criminal investigator and author of Ultimate Betrayal. Guys, here's what I want to do. I'm going to go around the horn first and ask you guys basically what you heard. Cheryl, I'm going to you first. Here's what I heard. I heard a lot about grief. I heard a lot about trying to get back to a normal life and about trying to make meaning out of this through service. What did you hear?
I heard the pain of a deeply wounded family. I think Tracy and Sabrina and Tavares were very well spoken and talked about how much they loved Trayvon and how hard it was to go through this process, how traumatizing it was, yes, but wanting to really honor the memory of their son and who he actually was, not as he was presented in court.
Making sense of it through that. Deneen, I thought it was fascinating that we heard from Trayvon's mother that she didn't want him to, she would not go home. I believe you told the same story, and you wouldn't have gone home because the perpetrator would follow you back to your house.
Exactly. And Dr. Drew, my #1 identity is that of a mother. Not necessarily a mother of brown children, because all wombs are the same color, but just as a mother. And I connect with her on that maternal level, and I feel that pain. And it just strikes me so deeply that this woman is sitting up here grieving for her child, and that the killer of her child, regardless of whether he feels as though he was right or wrong, has never once said that he would do anything differently, right, that he would make a different decision. There's not a day that goes by that I don't make a decision that I second or third guess. And the fact that whether or not it was his fault or Trayvon's fault or whatever he believes, I think it's a good time the trial is over for him to reach out and maybe say, you know what, I wish this had to happen this way, or something, anything.
Tiffany, how about you?
You know, while I think that's good in theory, I don't know that they're ready to hear that from him. I don't think that anything is really going to heal that wound right now, except for finding the purpose in all this. Sabrina talked a lot about why me towards the end of that interview, and I think that's a question that many people that are in this circumstance ask themselves. Why me? Why did this have to happen to us and our family? And they've actually been able to find some type of perspective in that. And I think that, you know, as we think about purpose and we think about why we're placed here on this earth, it's important to go there and to say, why did this happen to me? Right. And really ask ourselves that, because this is greater than them as a family. It's greater than Trayvon. This is what God wanted to happen, because there's something much greater that ultimately he wants to happen. And I can't wait to see what that is, because Trayvon did not die in vain.
And that disbelief is part of the stages of grief. But again, spirituality, service, making sense of these things, connecting with people you love, that's how people get through these things. Miss Ali, take us home.
Well, I think no parent wants to outlive their child, so I feel so badly for them. The second thing I recognize in that interview is that there's 43 million black people in this country, and we don't have a black news station. But the third thing, and I think the most important, Dr. Drew, did you notice how they danced around the issue of race and what they feel about white people and that jury and everything else? That's what I've been telling you. They were afraid to mention it. They can't mention it because so much fear has been put into us as a people. We scared if we talk in the public about race, that you all will get us.
Well, we're not going to get you, Miss Ali. I got to go to break. Samantha, I want to give you...
No, I know y'all ain't gonna get me.
Samantha, just a few seconds.
I want to chime in after the break because I actually have a lot to say.
Fair enough. If you have a question for the Behavior Bureau, tweet us at Dr. Drew HLN, hashtag Behavior Bureau. We'll be right back.
And I've heard people say, well, why didn't he go home? Well, if somebody is following you in a vehicle, in their car or a truck, and then they get out on foot and they're following you, would you go home so that they can know where you live or possibly harm somebody that's in your home? People don't just have people following them and they go directly home. I don't do it as a woman. I would not go home if I knew that somebody was following me in a car and then they got out of the car and they're following me on foot. I would not go home and take that to my family.
Back with the Behavior Bureau and our co-host Samantha Shocker. We are talking about the interview with Trayvon Martin's family. It was happening right here just a few moments ago with CNN legal analyst Sunny Hostin. Back to Samantha, who says she wanted to respond. Go ahead.
Well, Miss Ali, I don't know what interview you were watching, but in that interview, Javaris said point blank that he wants to raise awareness of racial profiling, and I'm so glad he said that.
I'm talking about the parents.
Okay, well, I'm
talking about the parents.
Okay, I'm really happy that he did say that because the truth of the matter is we all make assumptions. We all have suspicions of people. And that night, George Zimmerman had inaccurate assumptions of Trayvon Martin because of the suspicions of the recent burglaries. And if he would have just asked questions first, if he would have just rolled on up to Trayvon Martin from his car and said, hey, I'm Neighborhood Watch. Can I help you out? Do you need a ride? It's raining. None of this would have happened. Can you argue with that?
Samantha.
What, Miss Ali?
Samantha. I agree that there are a lot of white people that want justice for black people. They just ain't never in the court when we in there.
Thank you for saying that. Miss Ali, you had a breakthrough.
Hang on.
Thank you.
Well, she said they're out there. They just don't get to the courtroom when the black people are there. Tiffany, you had a question for Miss Ali.
I actually did have a question for Miss Ali. I wanted to know if she thinks that they're afraid to address the race issue, or if they feel it's something that's beyond their control, they can't change it, so they'd rather focus on what isn't within their control and something that they can change.
Let me pile on a little bit and say, or is that a bigger conversation that they will be leading us all into later?
No, they're not going to lead us into that later. This is their opportunity right now. I think that they are not mentioning it. They talking about the boogeyman is going to get you. The enemy is out there, but they will not identify who they're talking about. And that's because they can't speak that in the public, because if they do, all of the white people that's crowding around them now and pretending to be their friend will go away, and they think they can't make it without them.
Okay, Deneen.
This is what's going on.
Deneen, help me out here.
Dr. Drew, one thing I appreciated about their interview is that we cannot erase the past 400 years of history. We can't erase it. But the fact that they are now thinking about something proactive, a lot of people spend a lot of time on this show talking about the statistics and how many black men are in jail and all of that. But what are they doing about it? What involvement do they have in the community?
Oh.
These people are talking about a grassroots organization that they're trying to get started to address the problem. We can talk about it all day, but what are individuals doing in order to help further it?
Yes, you are, ma'am.
Speak up. Say what it is.
But hold on.
I'm glad.
I want to give another person a chance to speak. Cheryl.
Well, I had patients today saying, what can we do about it? I think this idea, this topic of what can we do in a concrete way about it is really important. And I actually did hear Tracy say something about the belief that if Trayvon had shot George Zimmerman, that he believes that he would have been convicted. And I do think that was an acknowledgement of the racial dynamics here.
Yeah.
But let's see how we can be constructive now and do something. It wasn't code, it was pretty clear. It was, I know that you wish he'd been more explicit about it, Miss Ali.
Let me tell you clear. Let me give you clear. This is clear. What I tell my little son, listen, I want you to be careful. There's some white men, not all of them, but there's some white men out there that want to kill you and stomp your life out like they did your forefathers. So you have to be careful of the white police, the white storekeeper, the white businessman, the white everybody, because they hate you.
Miss Ali, that breaks my heart. I hope you will come back and let me keep teasing that apart and understanding it, because I do think there are people out there believe like you. And to me, that makes me deeply, deeply wounded and sad, and we need to keep addressing it. Thank you, panel. Last call's next. Want to send out our sincere thanks to CNN legal analyst Sunny Hostin and Trayvon Martin's family. Thank you so much for being on the show this evening. Samantha, you had something you wanted to say real quick before we go out?
I just think that this case is a shining example of all the inequities within our justice system. And it's polarizing, but also creating a much-needed movement.
a movement and a conversation,
Right.
and I want to see Sabrina out there to continue to be of service and leading this sort of spiritual message she has.